I tried to tell all you fair weather, fickle Lakers fans that the Lakers were going to re-sign Austin Reaves to a max or near max contract. And more to the point, not only that they were going to do it, but that they had to do it if this franchise wanted any shot at winning in the near future. Now, if you think Luka, AR are a bad pairing together because they don't play that good a defense and they can't win a championship, that's besides the point. We could have that argument, even though I disagree with that sentiment. We could have that argument. But the point being, you still had to re-sign this guy. He is the most valuable asset on the Lakers roster right now when it comes to whether keeping him or trading him, right? Like, he's your most movable and valuable asset on your roster right now. So if you want to make anything happen, it has to start with re-signing Austin Reaves and paying him at what league value would say he's worth, right? The caliber of player, the statistical production that he's produced, right? You got to pay him to that caliber so you could maximize him if you are going to trade him on the open market. You get what I'm saying? So the idea that we were supposed to just let Austin Reaves walk in free agency made absolute zero sense to me, because he's the most important piece for this team to ultimately become a legitimate title contender. Now, again, if you think we should move him, if you think the Los Angeles Lakers should move him for a big or for somebody who's a better two-way player, we can talk about that. Again, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think Luka and AR can win together if there's the right supporting pieces around them. But you still have to start by re-signing Austin Reaves. Letting him walk in free agency with no guarantee that you're getting anything in return is just ridiculous to me. But so many people were preaching that the Lakers should do that. I hate to break it to you guys. I don't know if you've realized it yet or not, but it's been noticeable for the past 10 years. People don't just sign up to play in LA anymore, right? LeBron was a gift that the Lakers and largely didn't deserve, right? To be honest with you, as a Lakers fan, a diehard, lifelong Lakers fan, right? Like, from the way our franchise was operating leading into signing LeBron, there was no justification for him signing there. And the moves that Rob Pelinka and our front office staff had made since getting LeBron has proven that to be true, because they have not maximized LeBron and AD. They haven't maximized Luka up to this point. They haven't been willing to put all their chips on the table and say, we're going for it yet, right? They're holding cards close to the vest. They're making conservative decisions and hoping that, the top level talent on these rosters is good enough to get them by. And it just hasn't been since the Lakers won the bubble championship. You get what I'm saying? So this idea, right, just going back to the initial sentiment of this video, that Austin Reaves was just going to walk in free agency, and because the Lakers had substantial amounts of cap space, they were going to be able to sign all these defenders and shooters, is just not the reality of how the NBA works. Guys don't want to just come to LA and sacrifice more of their money on higher taxes, right? LA isn't that much of a incentive for players anymore, because you can, get brand deals anywhere. You can, move around. You're more flexible with social media and stuff like that it just doesn't make sense to go to LA all the time, right? So you're not just going to go get Case and Wallace and poach him from OKC. You're not just going to go get Lou Dort. You're not just going to be able to go get Isaiah Hartenstein. You're not going to just be able to go get all these guys, because other teams can offer the same or more money, less taxes, less stress, right? You're under less of a microscope. You don't got these fans and people, these pundits in the media talking about you every time you have a bad game. You can go just kind of play ball if that's what you want to do and live your life, right? And that's a lot more appealing to a lot of guys who are constantly under a microscope. So again, the Lakers had to re-sign Austin Reaves to a max or near max contract, because that is what the league tells us that his value is worth. And I agree with him. I think he's earned every dollar with the production, with the growth that he's shown. He's gotten better every year of his career. And I think he's going to continue to get better, especially if he can stay on the court and, be healthy for the better part of a season, which, I think he's had some unlucky situations when it came to injuries and the timing of those injuries recently. So shout out to Austin. I think this is a great move for the Lakers. I think this makes the Lakers a better team. Now, what gets tricky for me when we're looking down the rest of the Lakers roster and the moves that they can make throughout the rest of the offseason is, I think Rui is where it gets really tricky. And I think Rui is going to be the guy who you just have to let walk, because I just think he's going to be more expensive than the Lakers can reasonably afford and still have, flexibility to go get a quality center, to re-sign Braun if they want to re-sign Braun, and do all those other things that they need to do, surround Austin and Luka with quality defenders, stuff like that, right? And it sucks because Rui feels like a Laker to me. He feels like a guy who should be on this roster, who should be on this team, but also he just shot the best playoff 3-point percentage, I think, in the history of the NBA. He had a great playoff showing, between Houston and OKC, right? He played some great games as a role guy. And with him being the physical stature, right? 6'9", 230, 240, shooting the ball at such a high clip. And, a lot of people get on him, give him a hard time for his defense, but when he sits down and he defends and he knows what he's being asked to do on the defensive end of the floor, I think he's a quality defender and a versatile defender as well. Could be a better rebounder, but there's a lot of things to like about Rui as a high level shooter. And I think there's going to be teams on the market who are willing to pay him $20 million a year for the next 3 or 4 years. And do you invest that amount of capital into Rui? You know what I'm saying? Do you invest that amount of capital? Because I think if you do that, that's where it starts to hamstring the Lakers a little bit. So unfortunately, I think Rui is going to be the guy who the Lakers have to let walk. Maybe they can work out a deal where they do some sort of sign and trade, and get something in return for him. I think that would be the ideal situation. But I think, a lot of people were talking about like how the Lakers get better next year. Are they just going to run it back? That sort of thing. And I do think even though Rui's shooting is so valuable, one, he wants to be a starter, right? We know this about Rui, right? So just to backtrack a little bit, Rui wants to be a starter. We heard it in his interview in Japan like a month or so ago. Even though he did great work off the bench. So a few things. It's expensive to pay a guy $20 million a year, especially if he's not going to be a starter. And then, two, do you want to pay $20 million to a non-starter, right? And I don't know if that's the case scenario. So that's what's tough about Rui. And then piggybacking off of that, I personally am not opposed to the mindset that if you lose Rui and just replace him with Thiero, like let's say Thiero comes in and he has a good sophomore season, is it like addition by subtraction, is what I'm trying to get at, right? Does just slotting in Thiero into that starting 4-man role, does that increase the Lakers' chances of success, right? Because we saw it, in pockets towards the end of the season and spots in the playoffs when guys were just down with injuries and he had to play. Like his level of energy, his level of athleticism is so foreign to that Lakers team that he looks like an anomaly out there on the court, right? Because he's just so much more athletic than everybody else on the Lakers right now. And he gives them exactly what they need from an athletic standpoint, right? He can make high motor plays. He can grab rebounds that nobody else can grab. He can just make plays that nobody else can make. And I think, honestly, for what the Lakers need, right, I don't think he's a better player than Rui by any stretch, especially not at this point in their careers. But I think for what the Lakers need, I think it could be a scenario where it's a bit of addition by subtraction, in the sense that you lose Rui on the market, you slot in Thiero, you allow Thiero to develop as the starting, 3-4 man, whatever you want to slot him at. And if you re-sign LeBron, you re-sign LeBron, and then you build around that, right? You try and you go all in, because at that point you're going to have a lot of capital to go get a quality center. Is a guy like Rudy Gobert up for grabs? You saw Julius Randle get traded. Can you go get an older Rudy Gobert who's going to be an anchor for a defense? Can you get Isaiah Hardenstein on the open market, right? A guy who just got, who was, having to play spot minutes in the playoffs and series and stuff like that. Maybe you can get him for a little bit cheaper, or Mitchell Robinson, and then you build out a front court the way that the Lakers have been needing to. I think that's the opportunity for success and the most likely scenario to happen for the Lakers. But just to recap, Austin Reaves deserves his money. I think Rui deserves his money as well. I just don't know if the Lakers are going to be able to give it to him. But whatever team does give it to Rui, I think Rui has earned a 3-year $20 million, a 4-year $20 million per year type contract with the way that he competed towards the end of that season. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.